All right, we're back, and I'm with the wonderful Sharmin Wengender, registered nurse, mom, life coach, yoga instructor, black belt in karate, author, Grammy award-winning artist,
Sing now too.
Oscar award-winning artist.
Yeah, sure.
She has not won a Tony.
Well, listen,
but
this is the year.
Cross your fingers. Maybe you'll get that Tony at some point.
Maybe a third of those things are true, but
An
maybe
Emmy
that's
award
enough to
for this
for this show.
Yeah. But we're going to have more of the conversation of the natural remedies.
Yeah.
And so if we can, for my own sanity, break free from the evils of all of the people in industry and media and influence that is lying to us, right? Can we do that?
Well, I mean, listen, I walk a very thin line.
Well, I'm giving you the exit here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that we need to. I'm saying that, but
so
go ahead.
I don't think we need to completely extricate ourselves from Western conventional medicine. I share the viewpoint of Dr. Andrew Weil that it is a combination of the two. And if you go about it in that way, where you first come to it with, is there a non-invasive, natural way to look at this? Are there lifestyle modifications? Let's look there first. Let's see how we do. Come back and see me in X amount of weeks. If we don't have progress, and we've exhausted natural, non-invasive remedies, then let's look at what we can do. But knowing that that's going to keep you, you're maintaining, you're not getting healthy. So integrative medicine is a health promotion, health preventive model. Western, conventional medicine is a sick model. We're not getting better per se, not all the time. Obviously antibiotics get us better, and that's beautiful.
That combination, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
The combination of, and I heard somebody who had said where pharmaceuticals and medical intervention is the most appropriate is prevention of going into shock. Like you said, you get into a car accident and you need to have, because my wife has sensitivities to pain meds, and she found out she almost died of Stevens-Johnson syndrome from a reaction to Motrin during a labor, and we didn't know what that was. And I actually, in the hospital, researched it and said, could it be this? And they were like, huh. And they pulled her off Motrin and she survived.
She survived,
and it was, and I'm thinking, and back then, again, you trust everybody and you go, why am I the one, the idiot, coming up with, like, just Googling something and coming up with the answer?
And we used to get just lambasted for that. Oh, you found it on the internet. But we've come a long way. And again,
I'm sorry, but for anything chronic, they're like, there's answers to that other than a maintenance pill or something like that.
There's always answers other than a maintenance. Always.
Yeah.
Always. 100% truth. Always. So this is the show, right? So if disease, as we talked about in part one, if disease is dis-ease in our body, the dis-ease doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow progression or a wearing down of our defenses. What are our defenses? Well, our first line of defense is inflammation. What does that look like when you are inflamed? Well, it looks like every symptom we know in our body. It's everything that is an itis. So tendinitis, bursitis, gingivitis, you name it. And I talked about, and it's also the skin diseases, and it's the mental health, it's the anxiety and the depression, it's, oh gosh, what have I said? Brain fog, it's fatigue, I talked about pain. 80% of people have back pain. We just think that this is old age and, I'm getting old. It is not normal to have back pain. That's inflammation in your body. So what can we do to fix it? It's not normal to have gut issues, right? That's up. Oh my gosh, what is that percentage? I was just going through the percent. I think it's up 300%, but it might be way higher than that. We have such gut problems. And the gut-brain connection, they talk about it being, I've totally talked over you because you had a question.
No, I forget.
Oh, so sorry. Okay, we'll come back,
fog.
hopefully.
I have brainitis.
You're inflamed, yep. So, but our gut health, our healthy biome in our stomach, when that is unhealthy, you age faster. I mean, we're getting off topic, but women are all about buying this and that product and serums and this and that. If your healthy biome is not, those are the cells that are responsible for turning over, new cells, and and that are responsible for you aging. If you have a healthy biome, you're going to age slower. Your serum, however, if you have an unhealthy biome, is just sitting on the very surface of your skin, and you're never going to get better. So you're going to be throwing money at the wind, and then you'll eventually probably, if you have the funds, go into Botox and unnatural
Well,
things.
I'm interested in if we could bring up a good point between men and women, because statistically, women live longer than men. And that has been, I think, for statistics' sake, because men would go off to war or work in the coal mines or work on the skyscrapers and fall off and be in a lot more dangerous positions. But the amount, I wonder how it is now, where women are subjected to far more chemicals.
We are.
In terms of makeups and creams, and then anything related to menstruation or things that you're, without getting too
So
graphic,
true.
putting
No, it's
all
true.
over
They're all
you, inside of
chemically
you. Oh, right.
bathed in chemicals.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there is
And what does that do to our body?
toxic shock
Inflammation.
syndrome, all these things
Yeah.
that women go through
Yeah.
that a man doesn't have to experience.
Right.
And I wonder how because any studies or anything related to trying to do averages and studies and long-term projections, we're not even close to any sort of measurable time frame to judge anything, because things have come out in the 70s where now the people who were kids in the, like vaccines in the 70s for measles and chickenpox and whatever, now those people are in their 50s,
Yeah.
like us. And then, I mean, not you're in your late 20s, but I mean, somebody like myself in my 50s,
Yeah.
we don't know
Yeah.
the impact. We don't know. And you can't do a study. That's why the COVID thing was so frightening, because nobody had any clue what long-term impacts could be.
That's right. And we're learning now, right? Data is so important. And that's, again, Dr. Andrew Weil says, good medicine is based in good science.
Did
So-
you meet this guy over the weekend? You just like...
No, I just love
and
him.
your little-
He was literally the person that put me on my path. I came across one of his books when I was in nursing school. I mean, obviously, you know my story about that AIDS patient. I think that was our first show. And I wanted to do holistic nursing, and it wasn't common practice. It was still, ooh, woo-woo, alternative and new age, whatever. All the words were thrown at it. And then I came across him, Harvard-trained doctor, who said, hold up. We are not doing this the right way. If our body gets inflammation as our first line of defense, there are so many ways to decrease that inflammation. And I've studied him thinking, yeah, we can do better. We're doing ourselves a disservice. We're never going to get healthy unless holistically we treat the patient. And so that I've never changed. So, over the years, I do. I really, he teaches, if anybody's interested in him, he's got classes at the University of Arizona. He's got many books out there. He's got a health institute. I mean, he's an amazing human being. So basically, if inflammation is the precursor to disease, it's the one thing that every illness and autoimmune disease have in common is inflammation. It's the commonality. Boom, there it is. That's the root cause. All right, well, let's take it one step further. If we know what it looks like, inflammation in our body, we know the red flags, the whispers from our body. Are you just treating the headache? Are you just covering the acne? Are you just, it's normal for me to be gassy, or it's normal for me to be constipated? Are you just writing off your symptoms as normal, where really that's just your body talking to you, asking you to make some modifications? And so what modifications can you make? If you decide to listen today, what modifications can you do? Well, first of all, you need at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Important. Easy stuff. You need to be hydrated. Yeah, not for you. But maybe if you tap back inflammation in your body, you're sleeping better, because you've got everything cranked up. Your cortisol, it's all connected. It's all connected.
It's not about me, Sharmin. Let's talk about the audience. Let's talk about
it will pull you in, though, because you'll see that it addresses all things. If you look at any of your symptoms and you think of it from a space of, this is my body's first line of defense, and disease doesn't happen overnight. So either this is brand new and I can tap this back and not get real sick, or I have to look at, is this a chronic situation? Do I have chronic black mold? Do I have chronic toxins? You talked about the women's products. Fragrances, I love them. I love my perfumes. I love my fragrances. Truth is if I started getting symptomatic, I would need to look at that. Maybe my body is rejecting, because that's all chemicals. Are you eating processed foods? Eliminate that. Eat polyphenols, which are really just fruits and vegetables that are colorful. Some foods that are great for anti-inflammation are, and they're also anti-carcinogenic, polyphenols are, blueberries, avocados, let's think, leafy greens, ginger, turmeric.
And even in that realm,
Yeah.
once we just throw everything natural there and we go, okay, if it's natural, if it grows, it's probably good for us. Then you get to the situation where I've seen doctors like say, I don't even know if I'm calling them doctors. Let's call them Instagram influencers, okay, who might have an MD at the end of their name, or nutritionist or something like that, who are adamant about avoiding oats and granola and grains because if you're not a horse, that wreaks havoc on your digestive system and what have you. And you would think
It's true. Again, the gut-brain connection. Yeah, you want your microbiome to be healthy, and you want to do whatever you can to keep it in alignment. So you really can cut that, and you got to cut out. Oh, sugar is so bad for you, and we don't talk about that enough. But it is. Sugar is terrible. So, also alcohol. I told you about my weekend, and there's a time and place, but if you are having more alcohol than you know to be healthy for you, and you have symptoms.
But you were saying you had a lot of Jell-O, which was good, so that's healthy, right?
Yes,
and
I think
gelatin.
yeah, right. It was a balance. It's all
Right.
about balance.
Well, I shouldn't be telling inside jokes and inside comedy here, but
Yeah, it was a weekend at my daughter's college, and it was so fun, but it was definitely, it's so interesting too, though, again, just oversharing maybe my own story, but our body really does talk to us. So me, on the heels of my college weekend, I broke out. I had like 3, pimples on my face, and I was like, God, my body really hated that. No problem. It's data. Am I paying attention to it? Do I recognize what caused it? I do. But are the people listening doing the same thing? So,
and to your credit, right? There is balance of ingesting joy and fun, and sometimes it's not going to be all right, we're just eating blueberries and
That's right.
Natural Remedies.
That's right.
We're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy
balance is
ourselves.
important.
Yeah.
It's what I'm asking you to do is to be empowered, that you have control. You do. If you communicate with your body, if you remember you're a starfish, this is the analogy I need everybody to remember. Given the right nourishment and the right environment and the right rest, your body will heal itself. So what part can you play in that? The whole part. Right? You don't need to look outside yourself. You just need to look at your environment. Chronic stress is, we talked about 80 to 90% of our disease is caused from stress, scientifically proven. Well, what does chronic stress do in your body? Well, it elevates your cortisol levels. What does elevated cortisol do? It bumps up inflammation in your body. So let's look at stress reduction as a lifestyle modification. Are you deep breathing? Are you taking time for stillness? Are you taking a walk? That's another method. Inflammation in your body, go outside barefoot, preferably not where there could be glass, and just walk on the grass. The negative ions, now this is going to seem counterintuitive, but the negative ions from the earth will balance your body because we become positively charged, and even though that sounds good in reference to ions, it's not. We become positively charged from stress, our environment, our lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. When we are in a state of dis-ease, we're positively charged. So going outside and stepping on green grass will rebalance and correct that. You can also use a grounding mat, which I purchased. I have one. I highly recommend it, and they're not a lot of money. I think they're like $30. I sleep on mine.
Well, okay, let me ask you a question, because I've heard there are these electromagnetic mats or something like that.
That's what this is.
But they're thousands of dollars.
No. Okay, so
what am I thinking of?
So I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can't think of what it's called because a friend of mine.
Do you know Dr. Arena in Plymouth? I know she is creating
I've heard
a practice.
Of her. Yeah.
Right. And again, most of the treatments there, people would. My sister went, my sister's friend, my wife went, and all of them had to stop because they couldn't afford it. Because
yes.
Insurance doesn't
cover it. Well, this is why I'm telling you, this is what I'm saying.
Right.
You know my idea.
How frustrating is that?
It's
you know
so
it helps
awful.
you and you can't afford it.
This is what our show is for. I mean, if you have your pencil right now and you're writing down turmeric, you'll often see.
And I'm giving credit. I don't want to Dr.
No,
Arena.
it's great. She's wonderful.
Because, right,
and those things work.
Right.
That is not what I'm talking about. The grounding mat is really something you can go right on Amazon. It's different.
Okay. And
it just rebalances your body and it taps down inflammation.
Okay, explain it.
when
the grounding mat.
Yes, you become positively charged from stress and toxins and lifestyle. Like your body it ends up being. It sounds good because I'm always talking about high frequency and da da da. Just trust me that if you're.
What is the mat? What is it like made of? Like, so if we go to the natural remedy side of things, where if we were dropped here
you plug
as
it into your
Neanderthal.
outlet.
So let me just go back and,
Yeah.
and just say, from a natural remedy standpoint, if we're just plopped here as if we were an alien or Adam and Eve or whatever Neanderthal.
Yeah, like what's the function of it?
What would be, because you still have to buy a mat and plug it in, where if then that almost takes away, it accelerates the natural remedy by using unnatural things. But so I'm asking you, if you didn't have that, okay.
So it's just the negative ions. Yeah, and beyond that, I really don't know. I just know the function of the negative ion. So by plugging it into the grounding component, if you look at the U.S. outlets, it's the 2 dots and then the one underneath it. The one underneath it is the grounding one, and so there's a very thin, like little piece that goes into there.
Yeah.
Almost looks like an earphone, the old earphone thing.
Right.
And you plug that in. Not only do you sleep better, but it decreases inflammation in your body. So if I covered with you and the audience already that inflammation is the root and commonality in all illnesses and autoimmune diseases, inflammation is also what will advance your disease. So if you've been diagnosed, you can't be like, too late, I didn't pay attention. It's never too late, because if you keep inflammation just running amok, it will advance your disease state. Cancer is from inflammation. I mean, literally everything out there is from inflammation. So what causes inflammation?
I heard tomatoes cause inflammation. Why did I hear that? Because Tom Brady said so in his crazy diet that he eats, and get to a point a little bit where you start to go a little crazy. Like I throwing my hands up.
Well, no, and that's what I don't want.
And I'm the crazy one. You're bringing balance in that.
I want you to go, wait, it's that simple? So Dr. Weil says, let's get back to like the ease of it all, right? So are you getting sunshine? Are you stepping out into the sun a little bit each day? You need that, right? It's so healthy. It's free. What else is free? Go grab a glass of water. Make sure it's clean water, right? So filtered water, or get a Brita, but clean water is important. As you talked about the nursing home, think about what unhealthy water does to our body. When we are dehydrated, staying on water for a minute, this is a hard show because there's so much information, and I know we're going to end it, and I wish that I said so much more, but when we're in a state of dehydration, not only do we have problems in our gut, but we're not eliminating toxins. So that's one way to know if you are constipated, you have inflammation. So go ahead and take the herb, the bowel moving herbs. They have them all day long. I think Smooth Move or whatever is a tea. But if you're not going regularly, then you have a toxic buildup. And
I've gone 3 times during the show. I have no problem with that.
Look at you.
Yeah, I mean, no issues
not inflamed
whatsoever.
over there.
And
but
this
IBS
is brought to you by adult diapers.
But IBS, going too much, is also a sign of inflammation.
Gone just the right amount.
Just the right amount. Yeah. But also increase your fiber to make sure that is healthy. So there are free. Those are all free.
Let's go back to water for a second.
Water,
right?
Clean water.
And maybe even a show on this at some point, because I could have 16 brands of water, right? Not just brands like Poland Springs and Aquafina, whatever.
Oh, and
but
they're all
different. And you and I both, I think, one of the first times I had my hydrogen water.
Yes, we both drink from our hydrogen. Yeah.
Right. And again, I go back to, you didn't need a hydrogen capsule to drink water back 200 years ago, which human beings have been in existence for millions of years. So why do I need that? But then you would see all the different kinds of water that are there, and what each one does is that then marketing.
Yes.
Right? For us to think that we need this one over this one.
Yes.
Smart water, I like the taste of it better. It's $3 more expensive than the Cumberland Farms water. Right.
Water in itself could be its own show because the container that it's in leaches into the water. So are any of them really healthy if they've been exposed to sun and heat, and now we've got chemically leached water? It's a whole thing.
Sure. And then you do, and then it comes back to trust, whether the water company is just going into a restroom on the side of the road and filling up their water bottles,
Yeah.
like, you know,
It's
like that kind of thing.
It is.
So
It's tricky.
It's
So,
tricky.
I would say, fill a big thing of water in the morning if you're going to work or going to school. And, depending on the size, drink 2 to 3 of like your average size one, or a big, they have these really huge ones. You can fill it and drink that all day long. But we know that we're supposed to be hydrated. But sometimes when we're in a state of dehydration, we don't realize that we're not even absorbing that water. You can put Celtic salt under your tongue, a few grains. You can buy a little bag of it, and that will help you absorb water. But dehydration will keep your bowels stuck, and then you will not be able to eliminate toxins. So obviously, being hydrated, you're not only going to be urinating more, but you'll, be moving everything through. That's important. So make sure you are taking ownership over that, and you're not just living with it. How many people just live with GI issues? Don't. Look at it from an inflammation perspective and see what your diet is. Are they nutritionally dense? No processed sugar, no processed foods, or high sugar, high glycemic index. You don't want that if it quickly turns to sugar.
Well,
It's so much.
You've
Yeah.
covered a bunch of things. So even, again, like the bastardization of terms and product, and salt, for instance, right? Last year at this time, I was in Croatia touring some of the oldest salt mines and salt processing places on the planet for thousands of years. And salt was vital in human survival, from food preservation to, and people, it's the salt of the earth. I mean, there's terms related to it. Then all of a sudden, it's demonized. Why? Could that be
Public perception.
Public perception. Fat, animal fat, same thing, right?
Oh,
Sugar.
Thank you. The best thing you can eat for you,
Right.
for inflammation, red meat.
Right.
How demonized was red meat for a long time?
And let's talk about the most demonization of sugar right now, okay? Now, are we talking about pure sugar cane that comes from
No.
like the...
We're talking about junk food. We don't want you to eat junk food and sweets and
So
things
when
like
you
that.
get a sugar thing of sugar, right, and you put a spoonful of sugar in your coffee
Well, it's in
or
everything.
something like that.
Sugar is in everything. So if you look at the sugar content of juices and you look at, it's in everything. So we want to be careful that you don't have a high sugar diet. It's terrible for inflammation. If you don't already have a disease, you will not only get one, and if you don't decrease your inflammation, you will advance your disease. These are all free ways of either preventing illness or eliminating it. You can stop. A lot of people don't realize that you can get rid of an autoimmune disease, but you can with lifestyle modifications. So eat your polyphenols, your blueberries, your avocados, your omega-3 fatty acids, your salmon, your ginger, your turmeric. Again, often packaged with curcumin. I think I might be saying that wrong, but you'll see turmeric and curcumin. You can do that. Apple cider vinegar. That's something you can put, speaking of water, you can take a little capful or a tablespoon. I just use the cap, and you put it in warm water. It's anti-inflammation. And you can take that in the morning before you eat. Nobody has spent a lot of money now. If you've listened to this show and you've taken notes, these are all things. Maybe you've spent $30 on a mat. Maybe you've modified your grocery list so that you're not buying processed
and the problem too, just to
high-sugar
interject,
foods.
is with the apple cider vinegar is another thing where, again, we fall into these traps of a fad and then we overdo it. And I've heard that people will burn out the linings of their stomachs because they're taking so much acidity into their system. Because, hey, if apple cider vinegar, a spoonful, helps me lose weight in warm water, then what about
anything.
a gallon of it in a day?
And
Am I losing more weight?
Listen, you've got to be your own advocate, and you have to do the research. So yeah, less or more is not more. You can't take what you know to be true, a capful, as I'm saying today, and do more and think you're going to do better. You can easily have poor health outcomes.
And that's human instinct, right? If we have a diet pill, like, and Ozempic is like big now, like, right? Because it's helping people lose weight or whatever, which in a situation where somebody is Jerry Springer overweight, I'm like where they're lifting you out of your house in a crane, or where did they do that on Ricky Lake or Dick Gregory, talked about stuff, whatever, I don't know. But like that kind of miracle, right, will help that person.
Yeah.
But it's not going to, the woman who looks in the mirror and thinks that she's overweight but she looks like you, is going to take 7 of those because she thinks, So we just overdo everything as human beings.
We do, but I mean, that is, I suppose it's just a flaw of ours that more is more. But be smart.
I'm sorry, I'm going off topic, but
it's okay because
like,
actually
this
I
is
think
one of
it's
those
important
things
to
where
say that no, more is not more.
this is why I don't prepare for the show.
I love it.
Because if I were to make myself crazy before I go, Sean, we can't do it. I have to do
There's too much
this.
information
Too much.
out there. Well, even me trying to distill this down to make sense today and to give people things tangible that they can do when they go home. There's so much out there. So let's kind of pivot back to some other ways that you can help with inflammation, because that's the key. And then we'll talk about natural remedies and other supplements, maybe on other shows, because there's just so many and really cool things that you can do. Castor oil. That is a really cool thing that you can do to decrease inflammation. I use it every single night. So I have something called uterine cysts. They're benign. They're not things scary. Most women have them. And most women don't even know they have them because they also go away on their own. And they're estrogen fed. So when women go through menopause, they kind of just disappear. But for some women, they become symptomatic. You might have, it might be pressing on a bladder so that you have to, go to the bathroom more often. I don't have any symptoms, but they can grow. So I put castor oil on my stomach every single night. And you can do a castor pack, and they can sell them online.
On the outside?
I put it right on my belly button, and I rub in my belly. It's proven to decrease like cysts and tumors and any kind of growth. It will eliminate that. It also decreases inflammation.
And what's in castor oil that makes it? Do you have any idea?
I don't know, but it's anti-inflammatory. I know that. Highly proven. So these are, there are scientific studies that show castor oil is so inexpensive.
And I'm sorry, but you say highly proven, and then my mind instantly goes to proven by who? Right? Like,
they
said. Everyone says they say.
No. Again, Harvard-trained Dr. Andrew Weil speaks about the natural remedies. So you can go to his, and it's all backed up by the research that's been done. So these are all modalities that are proven scientifically with rigorous studies. These are not things that are on a whim. These are proven with, what do you do? The research studies that some people have it, some people don't.
And again, I'm trying not to be devil's advocate or whatever, or argumentative or anything, but I always think in science, nothing is ever proven. It's just opening up for more questions. Like, no,
I think that's a healthy perspective.
The Earth being flat was proven at one point by basis of what people understood.
Listen.
And then, you see what I mean? I'm just saying.
But if you want to be an advocate and empowered by your own health, try it.
Yeah.
Does your health improve? Let that be your data.
Good
How's
point.
that?
Yep, I'm sorry.
No, but right?
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let your health improvements be your data. If you're not improving, maybe try something else, but I guarantee you will improve, right?
Right.
So we talked about apple cider vinegar. We've talked about castor oil. We've talked about all the polyphenols, all the fruits and vegetables that are colorful. We've talked about limiting sugar. We've talked about limiting alcohol. There are modalities like red light therapy. This is really big in spas now. I also have a red light therapy mask. It's anti-aging, but it's anti-inflammatory. It has so many other wound healing. It's amazing. Red light therapy is wonderful. It's kind of like the sunshine without the UV damage too.
So let me ask, like, for sunshine and red light therapy, whatever, where do we get red light therapy in natural ways? Like, well, for sunlight, like you get a sun lamp. You hear that when people have seasonal affective disorder or whatever, so they get a sun lamp.
Right.
But is that, nobody can replicate the sun and the magic behind that.
So you're asking me the science behind
and I'm not,
red light
I apologize.
therapy?
I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm just wondering. I never even heard of red light therapy until you said it.
Yeah.
In a conversation a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And I'm going,
what is that?
What is that?
Yeah.
And I didn't look into it. So this is now it's come up again. Now I'm asking.
So right now you will see that it's in almost all the leading health spas, the ones that are promoting anti-aging and whatnot. Why? Because now there's data proving, so you don't do anything until it's proven, right? And then when it catches on, you're like, oh, it is because there's data behind it. So red light therapy. People
are going to get angry at me that I feel like I'm beating you up on these things, but like I truly am like in that state of like, I'm sensitive to all of these things out there.
So
like,
if you want to know if you're in a state of inflammation, number one, do you have any pain? Do you have any itises? Do you have, brain fog? Are you tired after 8 hours of sleep or 4 in your case? Those are all, is there skin rashes? Do you have acne? Do you have gut issues? If you have any of those things, you have inflammation. If you need proof, go to the doctors and get a SED rate. A SED rate will show inflammation.
A what?
SED rate.
Sed rate.
Sed rate. So sedimentation rate is what it stands for, but it's called sed rate for short. But you can ask for it, and it will show the inflammatory markers in your blood. And then you could do something like red light therapy, lifestyle modifications. And again, with the lifestyle modifications, aren't just dietary. Are you taking time for stress reduction? This is so important. Again, with the grounding outside or taking stillness or doing prayerful meditation or yoga or whatever it takes for you to calm your nervous system. Because if you leave your nervous system jacked up, you have chronic inflammation. And increased cortisol, which is what happens when you're nervous or anxious or depressed, is going to increase inflammation. So you understand now, if inflammation is the cause and root of all illness, and also what will advance it, all of these modalities will start to tap back inflammation, putting you in a completely altered state and one that is leading you towards better health outcomes, if not completely
I think
remedying
the yoga and the stretching, I think, is a huge. I look at the body, right, as one.
Yes.
And you brought up
Moving.
castor oil, and what I thought instantly when you said that, and it's again because of the way my crazy brain thinks, is I'm thinking why motor oil is so important for the car, because it lubricates all of the moving parts.
Yeah.
And it's a holistic look at the car,
Well,
right?
it does lubricate in the way that it decreases inflammation. When you get up from
Right.
a chair at a certain age, everyone goes, oh, creak, and everyone kind of moans, that we all start that
Right.
certain like, ugh,
Yep.
whatever that is. We think that's normal. No, it's a lack of lubrication. Like our body is stiff, it's inflamed. Our joints hurt. If you have joint stiffness, acheness, warmth on your joints, redness, that's inflammation.
I'm going to go back even further. Like in the Bible, you look at in the Old Testament, and then you see stories, and we dismiss them as fable or whatever because it says that people were living 200, 300 years.
Yeah.
Right? Early on, and it says, and you read that and you go, they must not have had a clear grasp of time or years or months. Like there has to be an explanation, right? But we could almost go, well, what if we were living a lot longer? Because we're talking about now reducing or slowing down the aging process. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me that a lot of the aging process is coming from a lot of the
you gotta eat better.
Or all of the
And
external
all of
chemicals and not unnatural things that we do to ourselves in all aspects. But could there have been a process that people were living a lot longer because they were focusing solely on what was in their perimeter, right? Like somebody who is in Asia is not going to be eating an animal that is indigenous to North America.
Ah, yeah.
Right? Because at that time, if you're in the desert in Egypt, you're eating
so
locusts.
So they're genetically equipped to live in that environment, is what you're saying. And that's true.
Yeah.
Right. So, good
and this
example.
is supporting your point of saying, like,
Yeah.
what happens if we do truly go back to sort of a more...
Yeah, we come from nature. We have to go back from nature. We have a hand in our healing outcomes. We have the whole control over our healing outcomes. 90% of the illnesses in today's world did not exist before Rockefeller's takeover of our medical model. Autism didn't exist. Think about it. Like, we are the unhealthiest we've ever been. Did we live to 200 or 300 years old? I can't speak to that. I have no idea. But I know we can live longer. I know that if you just think that there's a pill for every ill and you do nothing to take control over your health outcomes, you're not going to get better. But isn't it empowering to think that if you start to just go, wait, there's got to be another way, integrative medicine, where I am the whole person. And what part of my life can I modify? You talked about exercise. Low impact is best to decrease inflammation. And a lot of people think more is more. Well, let me go to the gym and let me pound and da-da-da-da-da. Are you also having gut issues and rashes and acne and anxiety and depression? Because maybe go low impact for a little while and decrease the inflammation in your body. So cycling and walking, amazing for you. So there are things that we can do that if we tap that back, not only do we slow our aging process, but we heal. And don't we want to heal? Don't we want to feel better?
Yeah, I think the number one thing people can do is just watch this show for their life.
The number one thing.
Number one.
Yeah.
If there was one thing I would tell people to do.
That's if they don't kill me after this show.
Or kill me. We'll both be dead. I'll be killed by your
kill
fans.
You.
And it's sad that we would even go down that road. And I feel like we're in a very weird time right now where where people even are going after Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because of what he's saying, based
People
on
are
what?
afraid. Well, listen, public perception, and I'm
But
not
as an
gonna,
average person
Yeah.
who's going to go to Plymouth and you missed all of the protesting of like,
oh, right, because I was out of town.
you're out of
Yeah.
town. But and you say, what possibly could be making you come to such a hateful conclusion about this?
Well, it's nobody's fault, right? Because
Well,
we
it
have
is
been,
the media.
It's the media. We've been so divided.
People that know better
Yeah.
should know better.
That's a great example, though, about inflammation, because when our body is in fight or flight, when we are in a fearful state, this is important for anyone who's experiencing, I mean, there's a lot of stress out there because of this division, and there's a lot of fear. And again, nobody's fault. They're ingesting what, they're being told, and it's terrifying, right? We're being terrified. And the truth is somewhere in the middle, and who knows, right, what's going on. But if you're in a state of fight or flight, your body's defenses are all keyed up. Remember, your cortisol's all jacked up. What is that doing? You are in a chronic state of inflammation. If you don't have an autoimmune disease or some type of disease in your body, you're going to get it. You cannot stand in fear for long, chronic periods of time and be a healthy person. You also can't be happy. So I don't watch the news, and I try not to even know the insanity that's happening on either end, because I honestly think in the middle is the only sane spot, because on both sides there's radicalists, and it's
well, even let's
fear-based.
take away the news anchor situation, like where they're sitting behind a desk and telling you things, because I think naturally younger people are just not resonating towards that, and that's going to naturally fade away.
Yep.
I don't think anybody, young people, even have the patience for it or the trust or anything. So, and they're not even in a state where they're looking at media and using those mediums, to get information. But let's go to something like scrolling through a TikTok feed or something, or Instagram or anything else, where you're going from emotion to emotion to, and we talked about this before.
Yeah, bounce,
and
bounce.
your
Yeah.
brain, right? Because your eyes are no different than your mouth, and you're ingesting something.
For sure.
And
consuming.
and
Yep.
then it's going to create a chemical response to that.
That's right.
Because if I see a puppy,
Yeah.
and it's cute, and I tear up or something,
Yeah.
I had a physical manifestation
That's
of an
exactly
emotion
right.
that I saw, right?
That's exactly
so
right.
Fear will do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Anger will do the same
100%.
thing. Sexual arousal will do the same thing.
That's all true.
Like, all of that is happening, but in no way, shape, or form are we equipped, I don't think, to experience those emotions. You should have that once in a while.
That's so true. And nobody is making the leap of, wait, I am mad all day long at the state of affairs in the world. I only talk about how upset I am about the state of affairs in the world. I feel overwhelmed and fearful of my money.
Zero long-term
my this and
studies
that.
of how this is going to affect people, and in any of it.
But it is affecting them.
Right.
And again, this show is about that. So if you have chronic stress, you have inflammation. If you have inflammation, you have some sort of disease. And if you have inflammation with a disease diagnosis, you are, by not handling your inflammation, advancing that. I mean,
And
it's
there
terrible.
I've heard people from Harvard, Massachusetts, that's the institution, who have said watching this show eliminates all inflammation and causes complete...
Wait, what does?
Watching the show.
Oh, watching this
and
show.
Overdoing it and doing it too much and
Play this show on
overdosing.
repeat.
Right, and it'll cure everything.
Every ailment
Somebody
out
from
there.
Harvard told me that. Harvard, Massachusetts, not the college or institution. So you see what I mean?
Yes, but listen, you know what? You make a great point about Harvard, and I am talking about Harvard, the school, in that if Rockefeller initially had the grants and implored them or mandated them to only teach the curriculum that eliminated natural remedies. And so someone said, but it's a Harvard doctor that told me XYZ. It must be true. Okay, fine. But Dr. Andrew Weil is also Harvard trained. And he said, hold up a minute. We have overlooked all of our natural ability to heal with lifestyle modifications. And we should look there first and then incorporate the Western conventional medicine and that model, 2 doctors, 2 different mindsets. And again, so that's why you have to be discerning as a patient.
And there's a fallacy out there of people who are looking to credentials as their their validation of facts and figures, because again, 1 + 1 = 2 is the same at Harvard as it is at Cape Cod Community College. So saying Harvard trained, we now have a perception of what that means.
Well, right.
And
we're trying to influence somebody, but
right. And we somehow think that that's an argument of authority or something,
Yes,
like where just because they went to Harvard that therefore they know all the answers.
They're the authority. But if one Harvard doctor didn't and the other did, they're both Harvard trained. It gives you the idea that not one person knows everything.
Right.
And you have to be your own advocate.
Because the answer isn't from Harvard. It's from the universe and the truth that we seek.
That's right.
And we expect and we hope, and this is where maybe the public's feelings of colleges and stuff and their lack of trust of them is becoming evident, is that they're influenced too, because they're getting awards and grants and funded by, and their research. And this is where scientists can become conflicted, is that their research is funded somewhere. If you're a scientist, just by a homeless guy on the side of the road who goes to the public library every day and becomes brilliant, super high IQ, and reads everything that comes in, theoretically they're the most independent scientists, but they even don't have the ability to fund a research study on something because they don't have the lab or the chemicals, the beakers, the machines, electron microscopes, all the things that cost millions and millions of dollars. As soon as that money becomes available, then they're influenced.
Yes.
And then their data is influenced because...
But they're influenced and they're saying to do something that is a profitable measure, maybe be suspicious. If somebody's profiting off the advice...
Everybody is.
But we're not. This show is not. You can go get,
Sadly, it's not. We need to make a profit here. But that's the point,
But we are taking
right?
sponsors, actually.
But what if we were to get a sponsor about... They will have some type of... Now,
yes.
And I have been questioning a lot of that when you take somebody on. Fortunately, we haven't had that, but that's not fortunate because money is the life force of how we live in 2025.
Again, which is why, if that's true, then being your own advocate and trying things that are relatively either free or inexpensive to see if you have better health outcomes, it cannot hurt you. And nobody's profiting, except maybe yourself, because the money's staying in your pocket. You're not on a lifetime, medication. But these things, just try them.
Discernment, so much
hot and
more.
cold therapy. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And halotherapy. So this show could go on and on and on. We're talking about anti-inflammatory things that you can do. One of my favorite.
How about this?
Yeah.
We'll take a break, and we'll come back with part 3.
Should we?
Sure. Why not? We make the rules. I'm not influenced by anybody.
All right. Well, should I wrap? How long have we been talking this second half?
A long time. So we'll stop and then let's talk a little bit more about that. While you're here, we got the cameras, the lights.
Let's do it. There's enough to talk about.
Gene's
on today.
We'll take a break. All right.
All right. Sounds good.
Here's a question. Have you heard of mosquito hunters? Me neither. I'm a mosquito and I live on the South Shore. Just letting you know that me and 1 trillion of my best friends won't be able to crash your dumb cookout or that fat kid's birthday party you were looking forward to attending. These stupid mosquito hunters ruined everything. Look at this website. Are you kidding me? It's like they don't even want us bugs around. They spray their dumb treatments, and next thing you know, your property won't have us bugs around. Don't call mosquito hunters at 781-783-5895. And whatever you do, don't look for them on Facebook or Instagram. Imagine a summer without itchy stings and bites. Good luck.